Hello YouTube, welcome to my channel. Several months ago I was looking on AliExpress for a inexpensive siren or alarm. I was planning on using either Zigbee or Z-Wave. I found that they were in the $50 to $100 US range, which was a little bit too much for my budget. I decided I'd try to build my own and found an inexpensive siren from AliExpress. I found a few other little components. Total cost is about 10 bucks. And if you want to see the initial build, which is very simple, click on the next slide. There'll be a button you can click to go back to that video. After you have the hardware assembled, which is fairly straightforward, you get into the area where you have to program the devices. Now, the first device you need to program is an ESP8266. I use the Arduino programming environment, and the .ino is going to be found in my GitHub page. All you have to do is change a few variables for the MQTT broker, your Wi-Fi password, things like that. Very straightforward to change that file and to upload it to your ESP8266. After you've programmed the ESP8266, it's time to set up the configuration in Home Assistant. Home Assistant is an open source software package that allows you to automate your home. If you'd like some more information on it, click the icon above and it will take you to the Home Assistant webpage. There's lots of information online on how to get started. You can start with either a Raspberry Pi or a small Linux machine like an Intel NUC. I found that Home Assistant is a wonderful program. However, the steep learning curve is a little intimidating. If you'd like some really good information, click on the Dr. Z's icon above and it will take you to his YouTube channel. Dr. Z has provided tons of information on how to set up and configure Home Assistant. Okay, now we're going to try and automate the $10 siren. I've tried to make it as simple as possible. I'm using a variable in an input boolean.yaml file. The variable is alarm state. You can see it here. Initially it is set to off. I've set the icon to being an alarm bell. Now when this particular variable goes to true or on, it will create a state where an automation will fire. The automation is found in alarms and it just watches that variable. When it goes from off to on, it runs these actions. The actions are pretty simple. It tells the one that doesn't want to be named to say something. It turns on the relay, which is what we're interested in because that in effect turns on the siren. So you can turn the siren on by simply setting the variable in input booleans. And that is done with a simple line right here where we want to set the input boolean. In this case we'd say turn on. So we're going to copy that. Go over to our scripts. We'll go over to 433 megahertz where we've got the sensor for the quorum door sensor that we just showed. So now we've got that sensor. Right now it's when the sensor triggers, it talks to the one that doesn't want to be named. It sends a message through the LED and then it sends an email. So it's not that complicated of an automation, but maybe we would just like to have that siren come along. So in here with all these different things, we'll still notify it, but in this case we're going to say warning, the door sensor was just triggered. and we'll still notify the LED. Door sensor triggered, and we don't need to worry about the email, and we do want to reset the switch because they only send the on command, they don't send the off. Okay, so I think that's okay. We'll get rid of this. Now to make the siren come on, we want to add that input boolean, and we want it to turn on. So when that switch goes from off to on, the following actions take place and the siren turns on. Now we can turn the siren off in an automation under alarms. And what happens here is we've got a timed turn off. So if it's been on for 5 minutes, it automatically turns off. The way it turns off is it just simply turns that variable off. When the variable goes from on to off, it turns the relay off. It's a very simple script. All the source code is going to be on my GitHub, so you don't have to try and read the screen or anything. So there we go. So I'm going to save all these. And then what we'll do is we'll do a check to make sure that we haven't made a mistake in the YAML files, and then I'll actually run it. So stand by while I just save and do a check on these. Under the Configuration tab on Home Assistant, you'll find a bunch of entries. If you scroll down, you will find an entry for server controls. Server controls is ideal because you can diagnose problems with your YAML file before you commit it to the function within Home Assistant. So after you've done any editing, click Check Config. It'll go out and make sure you haven't made any syntax errors. A syntax error is just an error in the way the computer is expecting the information to come in. Obviously we've got a configuration that's valid, so now you've got options. You can restart the server, or you can reload different modules. I'm going to reload the automations because we've just updated the 433 megahertz automation. So now if we go back to the Home Assistant Lovelace screen, which is right here, you can see I've got a couple of badges. The badges are a single relay, which is the relay that turns the actual siren on, and a variable from Boolean input called alarm state. Now when this variable goes on, it will automatically run an automation and turn on the relay. It's all triggered using my door sensor, which is a wireless quorum door sensor, and we'll see if we can't get that to work. So right now I'm going to press or turn the door sensor on. It'll send a 433 megahertz signal over to my Sonoff. The Sonoff will send an MQTT message over to Home Assistant. Home Assistant will turn the variable on. There's an automation that says if that goes on, then we want to run an automation to alert the LED sign, tell the one who doesn't want to be spoken to say something, and then turn on a siren. So here I go. I'm going to open the contacts for the door. What you should hear is the one who doesn't want to be told. She'll say something, and then we'll see the variables change on screen. Here it goes. There, I've just removed it.
Warning, the door sensor was just triggered.
And you can now see the alarm state is on and the single relay is on. So if I had the siren hooked up, it would be screaming away. Right now it's 11 o'clock at night, so obviously I don't have it plugged in. But this demonstrates how easy it is to trigger this. It was one line inside of an automation that just said set the input Boolean variable to on, and everything else is automatic after that. In summary, what we've just accomplished is to program the ESP8266 to turn on the 12-volt siren that makes a very loud noise. We've also configured Home Assistant using YAML files to automate this procedure. We're using an input Boolean variable, which makes it very easy to add it to any kind of automation. So if you want that siren to come on based on a smoke detector, some kind of a heat sensor, or a burglar system, it's very easy. Set the variable to true, the alarm comes on, it only runs for a set time so it does not annoy your neighbors, and hopefully you'll find this of value. If you would like to try this project, feel free to go to my GitHub repository. Simply click on the GitHub icon above and it will take you to the repository where you can download the files. I've included a schematic, the .ini file for the sketch, and some of the YAML files for you to take a look at. I hope you found this project and video interesting. If you did, I would appreciate it if you would click the subscribe button. Thank you very much.